Everyone, we're at the beginning of today's webinar. I'm your host, Mike Lisicki. Today our topic is the NSF ATE Program Funding Opportunities and Mentor-Connect Orientation webinar. As we get started, let me first do an acknowledgement. This webinar is hosted by ATE Central. ATE Central acts as an information hub for the National Science Foundation ATE grantee community. Thank you, ATE Central, and you can find out more about them by ATE Central, all one word, .net. So thank you again. For today's interface, many of you know Adobe Connect. Chat window on the upper right, there'll be polls, ability to download the handout in the middle of the screen, and you can see the attendee list on your lower right. Let's get started for today. It's my privilege to begin by introducing Elaine Kraft. Many of you know her. She is the principal investigator of the Mentor-Connect grant. Elaine, thank you very much for pulling this webinar together with all of your co-facilitators. Would you begin by saying a few words and then welcoming your other presenters?
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you so much. And welcome, everyone. For any of you who may be in Florida or Texas or Georgia, our hearts certainly go out to you for all that you've been through. And any of you who've been able to join us today, thank you for making the extraordinary effort that I'm sure it took to be here. I'd like to introduce you to the Mentor-Connect team. I'm pictured on the top left side. I serve as the principal investigator for the Mentor-Connect project, an initiative of the South Carolina ATE Center at Florence Darlington Technical College, Florence, South Carolina. Joining me for today's webinar are my two co-principal investigators for the Mentor-Connect project. Pictured to my right is Ellen Haas. Ellen works for the American Association of Community Colleges in Washington, D.C., and has been an ATE PI for many years. To Ellen's right is Dennis Faber. For a number of years, Dennis served as principal investigator of a successful regional ATE center based at the Community College of Baltimore County in Maryland. Dennis is now retired from CCBC, but as you can see, is remaining very active in the ATE community. Also pictured on the second row are other key personnel working on the Mentor-Connect project. On the left, and one of our co-presenters for today, is Dr. Osa Brand. Dr. Brand serves as senior personnel for our project, and she is also one of our mentors. Osa has been an ATE PI for 2 successful ATE projects and an advisor to many others. In the middle, David Hatta is external evaluator for the project, and on the right, Tanisha Ferguson, communications and technology specialist. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Celeste Carter, who will kick off our program today. Dr. Carter is a program officer at the National Science Foundation and the lead for the ATE program within the Division of Undergraduate Education. One of the many things about Dr. Carter that make her special is that she is one of us. She is a biologist who came to the National Science Foundation from a community college in California, where, as an ATE grantee herself, she initiated an outstanding biotechnology program. She is joining us today to orient you to the National Science Foundation and the Advanced Technological Education Program, referred to more simply as NSF and ATE. Before turning the program over to Dr. Carter, let's take a quick look at the agenda for today's webinar. The agenda is made up of 2 parts. Dr. Carter will start by giving you an overview of the National Science Foundation and specifically the ATE funding program offered by NSF. She will highlight a special funding opportunity called Small Grants for institutions new to ATE. Dennis, Ellen, Osa, and I will follow with specifics about the Mentor-Connect opportunity and how you can apply for special help with preparing and submitting a grant proposal to the ATE program. You will be provided with all of the dates, deadlines, and contact information needed to take advantage of this opportunity. If you qualify as new to ATE, Mentor-Connect technical assistance and mentoring is available to help you prepare a competitive proposal for submission in October 2018. Please note that this is not help to prepare for the upcoming October 2017 NSF ATE proposal deadline, but rather for next year, October 2018. We believe that preparing a really good grant proposal is something like having a baby. It takes about 9 months to get it right, so we start early for the following year. Even those who are not new to ATE, or if you have plans to submit a proposal to ATE this October, you will find that Mentor-Connect provides information that can help you develop a stronger, correctly prepared proposal. Now, we have a question for you. We would like to know how many participants, including yourself, are sharing your screen, and if you could just put the number in the chat box, we would appreciate it. One of the things that we do as part of our evaluation, and I mentioned our external evaluator to you earlier, is that we like to know how many people we're actually reaching with these webinars. Some people find it helpful to watch these together. You know, 2 heads are better than 1, and 3 even better than that, perhaps, for remembering and discussing the content thereafter. Okay, great. We do have a few people who are sharing the screen today. Gosh, there's one with 6. That's terrific. Okay, you can go ahead and continue putting your numbers into the chat box. And at this time, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Carter, who is joining us today from her new home at the new NSF building. Hello. How are you today?
Hi, everybody. I'm fine, and it's great to be on the webinar with all of you today. And I would add my thoughts going out to all of the people that have been impacted by the extreme weather recently as well. So today is my 3rd day in the building that is pictured on the right of this slide, where it says 2016 Alexandria, Virginia. We are still in the process of moving sort of floor by floor from Arlington to Alexandria, but my division and my directorate, Education and Human Resources, moved last Thursday. So Monday was our first working day here. And as Mike asked me, I did find my office, but it was a little tough. I'd like to welcome everybody. If you're going to be in Alexandria, please let me know. Come by and see the new building. It is directly across the street on the yellow line, the Metro yellow line from the Eisenhower Avenue station, so it's very easy to find. I have my email there underneath my name, and I'm always happy to take any emails that you would like to send asking any questions. So let's see, I don't know if I actually have control this time on moving forward. Yes, I do. All right, so welcome, wait a minute. Welcome to NSF. This shows you the structure overall of the National Science Foundation. The large box in the center shows you the director's office. Dr. France Cordova is the current director of the National Science Foundation. And if you sort of scan across the top long row of pictures and verbiage there, you'll see where the red box is circling Education and Human Resources. But if you look along there, it looks a little bit like one of our academic institutions. There's geosciences, there's math and physical sciences, there's computer science, information technology. Looks a little bit like an academic institution, which I think is a real drawing point for being an academic and coming to the National Science Foundation to work. It's not really like being in one of the enormous federal agencies, and it really is a great place to work. So boxed is EHR, and it shows the 4 divisions that are in this directorate. You have graduate education, research on learning in formal and informal settings. That's where the K-12 programs are housed. Human resource development, that's where all of the like tribal colleges up, and gender programs and other minority serving programs are located there. And then boxed in blue is undergraduate education. So that's the division that I'm located in. ATE is located here in this division, but we actually share leadership with that research on learning in formal and informal settings. So I'm the lead on ATE in the Division of Undergraduate Education. David Campbell is the ATE lead in the Research on Learning in Formal and Informal Settings, or DRL division. So we share those responsibilities. see if I can get this to go just one. All right. So here's a quick screenshot of what will happen if you put www.nsf.gov in your search window. And what's highlighted with a red arrow is in that first search box, you can put ATE for the Advanced Technological Education Program. Maybe point out one other thing. The large story running, the full story running through the middle of this site changes on a regular basis, and it's always kind of fun to see what is up there and what they've picked to highlight for the day or for the week. Okay, so you hit ATE, and what you come up with is a series of things that will come up. The first one that's boxed is the Advanced Technological Education Program, which again is going to take you directly to, oh, sorry, we reorganized these a little bit. So this is going to take you then to the actual page for the ATE program itself. The solicitation number, so if you really just wanted to get directly to the solicitation, you didn't want to look at the Division of Undergraduate Education, you already knew you just wanted the solicitation. The number currently is this 17-568. So 17 refers to this year, 2017. This is the newest solicitation that was just published, and if you put that into the search box, it will take you to this link, which, as you can see, if you follow across that first blue line, you'll get to the small print that says NSF 17-568. So that will take you directly to this page where you can download the solicitation itself. And the solicitation there is boxed sort of in the middle left. And you have an opportunity of either downloading it as an HTML, text, all of the sort of normal things that you would expect. So this is a new solicitation. What's changed? And there are several things that have changed. One that hasn't is that this is a program that's been fairly stable. So we are allowed to have this solicitation run for 3 consecutive years. So this is the first year on this new solicitation. So what about changes? Well, some of the changes are that you may not be involved with right now, but you might want to think about sometime in the future, is the duration and size of awards for the centers track has changed. And you can actually look at the current centers that are funded by going to atecenters.org, and the solicitation will give the explanation of the changes that have been put into effect with this new solicitation. Other things that will impact you, the maximum budget for projects has been changed. So for the focus area of small projects for institutions that are new to the ATE program, the budget has been increased. It was $200,000 as a maximum budget. Now it's $225,000. For most of the other project areas, the total maximum budget is $600,000 over 3 years. So that would be $200,000 a year for 3 years. That actually was reduced. And I might just tell you, for people who are on the webinar today that are familiar with the program, one of the reasons for reducing it was that people were not completing and spending out in the time that they had provided on their budget and budget justification. The National Science Foundation allows anyone to ask for no-cost extensions. If you still have money left, you know, you said you were going to have a 3-year project, and boy, you're running to the end of 3 years and you still have money left, you can immediately request a no-cost extension, and it will automatically be granted that first year as long as you ask for it. What we were finding was that people's money was lasting for 5, 6, in some cases almost 7 years, which would say that either the project was running very, very slowly, or the budget was actually quite a bit over the amount of money needed to really complete the project as described. So that was one of the reasons for dropping the maximum budget on projects. One of the exciting new things to look at is that there are 2 new focus areas in projects. One is adaptation and implementation, And that means that you have looked around, you see another institution maybe that has started either a new program or a new course that would fit into, let's say, your engineering technology program. You'd really like to do it. You don't have to start from ground zero. You can adapt and implement what has already been developed. So that would be adaptation and implementation. And the second one was to try and respond to people who said, you know, we've got a great program, and our industry partners are saying that we need some new instrumentation. And ATE could allow for instrumentation, but it was really, you know, you had to be doing something really more than just requesting an instrument. So in this case, instrumentation acquisition is now allowed. You do need to clearly describe how you will implement using the new instrument in your program and any new curricular modules or materials that you need to develop so that the instrumentation is being used appropriately. So those are two new areas to really think about. The other one is, I've already started talking about the small projects for institutions new to ATE. It used to be that in order to come into that focus area, you had to have had not had an award either ever or in the past 10 years. We changed that to 7 years, and the 7 years, the clock starts from the initial award date on your award letter. So let's say you have an award, and let's say you did need a 1-year no-cost extension. So you've actually ended an award at 4 years. 3 years from that date, or 7 years from that initial award date on your letter, you can actually come back into this focus area. One other thing we've put in there, which I think most federal agencies are doing, is to encourage people to use an open learning approach for any new learning materials and software that you develop. And then finally, this isn't really a change, but I'd really like to because I had quite a few emails on this. You need to read both of these documents that are in this last bullet. The ATE solicitation, I think, should be fairly clear. You really need to read that carefully, and I know all of you who are in Mentor-Connect or will become part of the new cohort, one of your first homework assignments is going to be answering questions about finding things in the ATE solicitation. But the second one is this document that's called the Proposal and Award Policies and Procedures Guide, or PAPPG. That's the general overall set of instructions for anyone wanting to come into the National Science Foundation. And there's a lot of very general information that's in there that is not in the solicitation. I actually had someone call me and they said, just recently, they said, well, my office, my grants office wants to know why it says something in the PAPPG and it's not in the ATE solicitation. Does this mean I don't have to adhere to this? The answer is no. Both of these documents are important. What you do want to know is that if something is in the solicitation and it contradicts something that's in this other guide, the solicitation is actually what you want to follow. And I'll give you a specific example. The PAPPG now says that you cannot submit letters. Any kinds of letters, support, commitment, whatever, okay? What you can do is in your project description it says, tell us who's going to work with you and what they're going to do. And then on an Excel spreadsheet, each one of your partners sort of checks the box that yes, they are going to do that. So no letters, okay? The ATE solicitation says you can submit letters of commitment. So not a general letter of support that says, I've known so-and-so for 20 years. Whatever they're proposing to do is going to be great. Please don't do that. That can actually get your proposal returned without review. But if you have an industry partner who wants to say, I'm committing to take 3 of the students from this program each year over the course of this award and provide them summer internships during the year, whatever it would be, that's a true letter of commitment, and those are acceptable. Okay, so ATE, what is it all about? It's about the education of highly qualified science and engineering technicians for the advanced technology fields that drive the economy. And it's interesting. I would actually suggest that you all look at the National Academies of Science, their site, their sort of library of resources is NAP, as in Paul.edu, and a recent study that they just published is really directly relates to the ATE program, and they call it the skilled technical workforce. So there's a new study about what we do in community and technical colleges on educating students for these kinds of entry-level positions. But jumping back to ATE, this was a program that the Congress mandated the National Science Foundation to develop quite a few years ago now. We're rolling into 25 years with this program. And one of the things that they specified was that the program has to have community or technical colleges and leadership roles on all projects. That doesn't mean that they have to be the fiscal agent, although reviewers really look for that. But it does mean that if it is, the fiscal agent is another entity, whether it's a 4-year or a nonprofit or whatever, community college faculty need to be on that first cover page as co-PIs or PI. The second one is that Congress said this should be a program that supports pathways. So grades 7 through 12, 2-year and 4-year institutions can be developed. And maybe one of the most important things here, other than the fact that it's community and technical colleges, is that partnerships are required. You need established industry partnerships. And you want to be aware of, whether it's your workforce investment board or your economic development agency, what are the hiring needs in your area? The reviewers that are going to look at your proposal are going to say, well, you know, it's great that you want to start a marine science program, but you're in the middle of Oklahoma. Where are your students going to get jobs? So hiring needs is something that you want to also take into account. So these are really the hallmarks. These 3 bullets are the hallmarks of the ATE program. So again, we've talked about it a little bit. There are 3 program tracks in ATE. If I leave my cursor, my little arrow on that, it keeps advancing. Sorry. So to the left, you can see the projects track, and it says it's up to $600,000 for 3 years. So that would be $200,000 a year for 3 years, except for some of these new areas. So we've already talked about those. I'll get to the adaptation and implementation and instrumentation in a minute. In the middle, you'll see ATE centers, and this is a little different from the way it was structured before. There will now be in essence, it's kind of a national center, a coordinating center in a way, and other than that, there will be resource centers. And these are centers that have been established that want to continue working within the program. So coming in as a resource center says you actually already are a center. And then finally, we have a research track, but it's applied research. If you're talking about technician education and someone has tried some specific interventions to increase the number of women in your information technology or your engineering technology programs, what works and why did it work? So there's various opportunities there if you're interested in really kind of studying what's making your process that you're using in your institution work. Okay, so this just gives a little more detail on the projects. There's a whole list of types of things you could do within the project description area in the ATE solicitation. Bolded in red are those new ones, and new for small grants for institutions has been there, but the amount has been increased, so it's highlighted in red. Adaptation and implementation, that's one. Please don't reinvent the wheel. Find something that, or you've noticed that somebody's doing something you think is really important for you to do as well. You can adapt and implement that. And again, the instrumentation with your curriculum updates is also listed there. I just wanted to point out that a lot of times people will, I will get an email and they'll say, well, I want to do program development, but I think I also need to include some of these other areas. I'm going to need to do some faculty professional development, and if I'm developing a new program, I've got to develop some new curriculum. It's fine to have multi-component things in your project. It all has to just fit into this overall picture of what you are presenting and what you want to accomplish. So I wanted to just point that one out, is that a lot of times a project is not just one of these, it's a combination. Okay, so here's a poll, and I think we're having to do this in the chat box. So what do you think the overall funding rate is? Oh, here we go. It actually came up. What do you think the funding rate is? It's hopping around a little bit. Okay, it looks like it's steadying there a little bit. So it looks like the majority of people picked 22 to 34%, and that's actually correct. What I will tell you, for those of you that jumped a little bit higher, just for the last cohort of Mentor-Connect proposals, so those are proposals where the institutional teams were mentored through the whole process of crafting a proposal, and it's only for the fiscal year 17. The success rate of those proposals in the small projects for institutions new to ATE was 84%. So that's not the overall rate over the lifetime of Mentor-Connect. This was just for last year. Otherwise, we're looking at 22 to 34%. There actually are programs within the National Science Foundation that are anywhere from 10% to 17% success rates. So we've been pretty lucky, blessed, I'm not sure what word to use, in having a fairly good amount of money appropriated each year for this program and being able to support quite a few projects overall. Okay, so why does the funding rate vary? Well, the first thing is just how much money is available. Another one is the number of proposals we receive. If we have so much money and at the end of each fiscal year, I'm told very clearly that every penny of the money needs to be spent in that year. So we can work a little harder and work with people that maybe reviewers said there were a few problems, but if they were fixable, if we could negotiate, so we can do that. The third type one is the type of proposal on the funding track, and then also just, you know, the quality. If we get a lot of high quality proposals and we can stretch things out and support as many of those as possible, we're definitely going to do that. Okay, so program officers spend a lot of time reading all of your proposals. We really do. We do not skimp on this. This is something that's really important to us. And here's some of the advice. Matter of fact, I've often said in an outreach event, if I could put a subliminal message on every slide, you know, think 40 slides, and there's a subliminal message on every one. And on the first slide, it would say, read the solicitation. And on the second slide, it would say, did I mention, please read the solicitation? And then on the third slide, you're seeing where I'm going with this. Every single slide would actually have that message of please read it carefully. The second one is make sure you're in the right program track. You want to really think about it. You know, maybe you want to write a $600,000 proposal, but really what you want is a new mechatronics trainer. So your industry has told you really need this piece of instrumentation. Well, you don't really need to be in a full project. Maybe you want to be in that instrumentation acquisition because you're going to have to develop some of the curricular modules and or adapt and implement from someone else who has already done this. So you might want to be in that project area, but maybe you want to think carefully about the budget you're requesting. Elaine already mentioned start early. It really helps. Last year when I went home at 6:30 on the evening of the day proposals were due, there were less than 100 proposals that had been submitted. And when I came in the next morning, there were a lot of people across the United States working at the very last minute to get their proposals in. So start early. Get help. Program officers, as a program officer at the National Science Foundation, we can always take a 1 to 2 page synopsis of your project ideas and give you some help and suggestions around that. Mentor-Connect can do the same thing, and they have a tremendous library of resources. Everything from a tutorial on, hey, that budget page is a little confusing, how do you fill it out, to be sure you pay attention to A, B, and C. And then also all of the different projects and the center principal investigators, part of what they would like to do is mentor you as well. ATE really, I think one of the things that's so important about this program is you're really coming into a community of people that want student success to be at the top of everyone's priority list. So that's something else to really be aware of. Again, be alert to the guidelines. This PAPPG is usually rewritten every year. So the 17-1 is the one for 2017. Probably in January there will be a new one, and they'll do a little executive summary of highlighted changes at the very beginning. And then, as we've already mentioned, the new solicitation 17-568 is out, and the solicitation will be following for the next 3 years. So I think we already did. Oh, I'm sorry, I went backwards. Let's go forwards. So, all right, so here's another poll. As a prospective NSF ATE grantee, how would you describe yourself? New in experience, new to ATE, but you've actually written other grants, knowledgeable and confident. Okay, this looks pretty good. So if we can end the poll, it looks like we've got new to ATE, but a significant number of people have experience writing proposals. New and inexperienced, this is perfect for you guys. More than a quarter of you are put yourself in the new inexperienced, because that's really what Mentor-Connect is about, is providing you with the information that you need to be successful. And then again, there are some people that are knowledgeable and quite confident, 10%. So I always used to say to students in my class, hey, look around, because I may be an expert on helping you with one aspect of biotechnology, but there's probably people in the classroom that have more experience than I in some areas. So be knowledgeable about that and use the people that have the experience that you need. Okay, and I think that brings us to questions. And of course, since I've been talking, I haven't been checking out the chat box.
Celeste, it's Mike. I'm coming in under a different microphone.
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Oh, good. Thank you. We have several questions that I'm going to forward to you. And one has to do with, you mentioned the requirement for partnerships, and you sort of underlined that in your speaking. What do you think the best way that we can evidence partnerships in our proposals? What's the best way of doing it?
Ooh. Well, I think part of it depends on, if you truly have a partner, the partner is not going to want to be sitting on the sideline. So I think the best way to illustrate a partnership is to show in the project description what out of your goals and objectives will your partners be doing. And if it's industry, it could be that you've got a really nice industry partner that will support your program by taking some students as interns. Maybe you've got another partner you also want to highlight because they're willing to come and teach a techniques course for you. I used to do that in my biotech program. I had industry people coming and teaching short techniques courses in the evening. Things like that. If it's a 4-year person and you'd like to provide your students with the knowledge that yes, when you finish this particular program and maybe an associate's degree or some certificate, you can get a job. But maybe in a few years you might want to come back and do a 4-year. Well, there's a pathway. We're working on a pathway for you. So those are the types of things that you want to highlight. As far as the economic development agencies and workforce investment boards, that might be that you've used them for the information you need to convince reviewers that there's a real need for what you are proposing in your area. You know, whether it would be there's X number of companies that are looking for entry-level people with these skills, and this is what you're going to build in your program. I think that's an important one as well.
You know, here's a related question that came in through email. What about matching funds? You know, you've got an industry partner and they're willing to give you money. That's a good evidence of partnership, isn't it?
Well, it is, except you can't put matching funds into an NSF proposal. As a matter of fact, this is a good time to just tell everybody, go find out if you have a federally negotiated indirect rate, what it is, and be aware that on your budget line where you have to put what your indirect rate is, you actually have to use your fully negotiated rate. It used to be that people would submit a proposal and they would say our negotiated rate is 42%. But I talked with my administration and they are willing to accept 18% on this proposal. At this point in time, NSF considers that cost sharing and they won't accept that. So yes, industry can still provide you. It might even be that they're providing you with equipment. There's a facilities and equipment page form towards the end of the proposal. You can put that kind of information down there. It could even be that you, maybe as the PI or co-PI, aren't asking for any money on this proposal because your institution considers this part of your regular job. Well, you would put that down on that facilities, equipment, and other information page, and because it would explain to reviewers and to program officers as they review it that it isn't that you're just going to do this out of the goodness of your heart. You actually will be supported by your institution as you do this project.
That's a great point. There's some subtleties there, and I'm really glad that you had an opportunity to do that. You know, Celeste, in the interest of time, we're going to hold a couple of other questions because some of our other presenters will be able to address them as well. I think we're going to close out your session here, but all of us just wanted to thank you for taking time from your NSF obligations to talk. We've always appreciated the direct interplay that you have with us as grantees in the program, so thank you again.
Well, thank you again. Thank you all.
All right.
All right, and I will log off.
Okay, you're going. Thank you very much, Celeste. Now, colleagues, I'm going to turn over the presentation now back to Elaine Kraft. Go ahead, Elaine.
Okay, thanks, Mike. So some of you may be wondering why Mentor-Connect. Why does the NSF ATE program fund this program or project? One reason is that too few technical and community colleges have benefited from NSF funding. When Mentor-Connect was initially funded in 2012, only about 1/3 of the community colleges in the country had received one or more NSF grant awards. That left 2/3, or about 800 two-year colleges, without. Changing these statistics is one of Mentor-Connect's goals. If you as you have no doubt discovered, it is very challenging to win a grant award. Requirements are constantly changing and competition is stiff. In the past, there have been very few places to turn for help. A number of years ago, some of you may have been around then, there was a preliminary proposal opportunity for the ATE program, which gave you a chance to get some ideas vetted by reviewers, and then you could make corrections and strengthen things and put a full proposal in later. But a number of years ago, they eliminated the preliminary proposals. They're no longer an option for ATE. And community college faculty typically have little, if any, experience in generating grant proposals. Not every community college even has a grant writer or a grant writer who is familiar with NSF funding and proposal procedures. And one of our earlier polls sort of highlighted this point. There's some great grant writers, but if you haven't had experience with NSF, there's some new things to learn. So while the nation desperately needs highly skilled technicians that community colleges prepare, it is very challenging to secure grant funding to initiate, grow, or improve technician education programs. That's where Mentor-Connect comes in. What we know is that mentoring is an effective way to stimulate knowledge transfer, share best practices, and improve outcomes, especially in the ATE program that has created a community that shares willingly with one another. With more than 200 funded ATE projects each year, an incredible amount is being learned about what works and what doesn't in technician education. Mentor-Connect guides technician educators through the grant proposal process and helps prospective grantees leverage ATE program resources, know-how, and networks. What really makes this work, of course, are the experienced principal investigators, some of whom are former NSF program officers, who are willing to assist first-time applicants as they seek an ATE grant. Technical assistance and instruction from Mentor-Connect is coupled with the opportunity to be mentored by someone who has personally been down the path many times before. In a few minutes, we will share with you some statistics so that you can see how Mentor-Connect system can improve your chances for success. Dr. Carter's already shared some data from last year. This program really is working, which is just extremely exciting. The Mentor-Connect support system is made up of 3 parts that are delivered both face-to-face and online. We help educators develop good projects and competitive proposals for the ATE program. We select mentors and prepare them to assist both potential and funded principal investigators. And we work with funded PIs to develop leadership skills and improve project outcomes. And some of these new PIs will one day become mentors too. Mentor-Connect strives to increase the geographic diversity of colleges winning grant awards and the demographic diversity of faculty who serve as principal investigators for those awards. We offer several levels and types of support designed to increase the likelihood that the proposal you submit will be competitive and of high quality. What you learn through the Mentor-Connect experience will not only prepare you for now, but for future success with grants too. Whether or not you are selected for a Mentor-Connect cohort, we have specialized help for you and your college. In short, Mentor-Connect is a win-win, no-lose proposition. Even if you aren't selected for a Mentor-Connect cohort, we provide other types of one-on-one help. If you submit a proposal to ATE that does not get funded, we will help you recover, strengthen your proposal, and try again. After you receive your first award, we provide startup help and leadership development opportunities for faculty. In summary, all levels of Mentor-Connect support are designed to bring more to-year colleges into the ATE program, to diversify the NSF ATE program, both geographically and demographically, and to grow a new generation of STEM faculty leaders to advance technician education. In summary, Mentor-Connect helps you compete for funding to support projects that are aligned with the goals of the ATE program, and being an ATE grantee will enhance your development as a STEM leader in technician education. The underline on this slide emphasizes ATE's very specific focus on technician education. Mentor-Connect can help you benefit from and someday give back to the ATE community. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Osa to talk to you about assistance offered in the cohort structure, benefits, and financial support.
This conference appears to be inactive and will be ended soon. If you are the host and wish this conference to continue, please press any key on your telephone touchpad.
Elaine, I'm sorry for that interruption. We're going to go ahead and take care of that, okay?
Thank you.
And this is Osa, and I'm very pleased to be able to give you some information about how our cohorts are structured and about some of the benefits that they receive from being part of Mentor-Connect. Each October, we select a new cohort that consists of 20 college teams, each of them with 2 faculty members. We also welcome up to 2 college administrators or grant writers per team, and you'll hear more about their participation shortly. Ellen will follow me with more details, but I'll start with a very brief overview of the benefits that are received by Mentor-Connect cohorts. Each new cohort gathers for a 3-day winter workshop in January. You can think of this experience as Grant Writing 101. By then, each team will have a mentor. The workshop includes ample time for mentors and mentees to discuss proposal ideas and develop plans for working together over the next 9 months until their proposals are ready for submission. During the next few months after that, we offer webinars that focus on various aspects of proposal development. They provide technical assistance that will see the teams through specific tasks like developing the budget and filling out the many required forms. In the summer, we host a 1-day Mentor-Connect workshop in conjunction with the annual High Impact Technology Exchange Conference known as HITECH. Teams and mentors meet for a full day and then participate in the whole HITECH conference. Lastly, all participants have access to a wide range of online resources, mainly on the Mentor-Connect website, and to help desk support from our staff. I'd like to talk a little bit about the financial support that's available to our participants. The project will reimburse the travel and hotel costs for the winter and summer workshops, up to $1,200 for each of the 2 faculty members per team, and will also cover the cost of their registration for the HITECH conference. We really encourage teamwork, and we've learned from each cohort how invaluable the grant writers and the administrators are in the proposal development process. We're very pleased to be able to include up to 2 such additional participants per team at the winter workshop. We didn't budget for their participation in the original proposal. We had so many requests from colleges that wanted to send a grant writer or an administrator, and sometimes both, that we're very pleased to make that accommodation. The grant doesn't allow us to cover their costs, so we have to ask the colleges to cover their transportation as well as the $395 registration fee that covers administrative expenses and meals and materials. According to all the feedback we've received, the colleges consider this a very worthwhile investment. Initially, the grant writers and the administrators sat in on the sessions we had developed for the project teams, but we soon realized that they had separate interests that needed to be addressed. So now we offer separate tracks that address their specific concerns during part of the workshop, and at other times they participate with their faculty in the presentations and the work sessions that are most relevant to them. We know from their evaluations that these participants value the workshop experience very highly. Not only does it enable them to work more effectively with their teams as they prepare the proposal, but it also gives them insights and the resources that support other college initiatives to develop projects and seek grant funding. And with that, I'll turn you over to Ellen, and she will ask you for some information in an informal poll and then give you some more detailed information about Mentor-Connect.
Thank you, Osa, and hello, everyone. Elsa was talking about teamwork, so we'd like to get a sense of who is in our audience today, what your current role is, what your part of the team is that would be interested in Mentor-Connect. So if you could indicate your current role at your institution so we can get a further sense of who's on the call. Looks like we have a good number of grant writers, administrators, and faculty. A nice mix of folks on the phone or on the webinar today. All right, thank you. If we could close the poll. So I'd just like to review who's eligible for Mentor-Connect. We're focused on two-year community and technical colleges that if you've never before received an NSF grant, or as Celeste talked about, if you've not received grant funding in the past 7 years and using that first award start date as the number to determine if you are 7 years and if you're eligible. If you're unsure if your college has received a past ATE grant, you can check with your college's business office, or you can also search NSF, their award database online. So if you access their website, you can do an award search, and in an expanded search mode, there's a code for program element. If you enter 7412, that limits your search only to awards in the ATE program. And you would just enter your college's name and check expired awards as well as active awards. You might as well see if you have either. And if those awards come up, you can check that way, so you can access their online database. So Mentor-Connect is seeking STEM faculty that are working to prepare technicians in STEM fields that align with NSF ATE program areas. And we do ask that applications be limited to 1 team per college, and we do this to ensure that we can provide the best assistance to your team, and also that your college is not in a situation where it's really competing against itself in the ATE grant pool. So who's encouraged to participate? We strongly encourage, again, submissions in STEM technician education disciplines and applications from rural colleges and underrepresented STEM faculty. OSA talked a little bit about the workshops. To provide you with a little bit more information, we're hoping all is a go in Florida, and again, I add my support and thoughts to those that are impacted in areas of hurricane of the recent hurricanes. But these are where we have our winter workshop hosted January 31st through February 2nd in Fort Lauderdale. And all of the at the workshop, teams will be designated with time to work with their mentors. They'll gain grant writing skills and tips for preparing competitive grant proposals. And as a highlight of the workshop is a mock panel review session where participants have the opportunity to read, review, and be privy to actual NSF ATE reviewer comments of real ATE grant proposals that were submitted by prior Mentor-Connect cohorts. So learning what reviewers look for and being able and seeing what they're commenting on and having the experience of reading actual proposals is really an invaluable experience that's designed to strengthen your own proposal development efforts. And we consistently get great feedback from participants on the value and impact of this exercise. We also hope you'll develop leadership skills, that it is faculty leaders who drive the ATE program. And as Osa mentioned, we also include a special session for grant writers and administrators, and we really do encourage you to submit and consider having a full team in attendance. So following the workshop in the end of January, beginning of February, we have a summer workshop. We convene the cohort again, and we also have you attend the High Impact Technology Exchange Conference, which is put on and organized by ATE centers. So the summer workshop will be held July 23rd through 26th in Miami. So in addition to having the opportunity to attend the High Tech Conference and network again with current ATE projects and centers, we provide a one-day workshop on the front end of this conference where we allow you more time for working with your assigned mentor, additional grant writing, technical assistance, and we also bring in prior Mentor-Connect mentees to share their advice and guidance. These are mentees that have gone on to successfully be awarded ATE grants and are now ATE PIs running grant projects. And now I'd like to turn it back over to Osa to walk you through some snapshots of prior cohorts.
The prior cohorts look like and get acquainted with our current cohort. So I'm going to take you just to our winter workshop for the 5 different cohorts. And here you see that this is our first cohort at work during the winter workshop in Portland. We meet as a whole group for some of the presentations and work sessions, as in this photo, and we split up into smaller groups at other times. We learned from Cohort 1 that people much prefer to travel south in January, so Cohort 2 met in balmy Atlanta. And here we've gathered for lunch. And if you look closely, you might wonder if we're having wine, but I should hasten to reassure you that no, we weren't having wine. And you'll find out if you develop a proposal that one thing that is never covered in a budget is alcohol. Here we are working our way further south. We're in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is a joint work session. New Orleans was such a success that we went back last January with Cohort 5, which is our current cohort. This was their first Mentor-Connect gathering and their first meeting with their mentors. 8 months later, they're now finishing up their proposals and all working very hard and building up a real head of steam on all fronts, I'm sure. I want to tell you a little bit about the successes that we've had, both involving colleges across the country and in helping those colleges submit proposals. The 5 cohorts that have participated in Mentor-Connect to date represent 101 colleges from 31 states. They include 202 faculty and 115 grant writers or administrators. We have 10 mentors who work with each cohort, and each mentor supports 2 teams. To date, we've had 19 mentors work with the project. We're pleased to be able to say that our cohorts have been pretty successful in the annual ATE grant competition. Since the beginning of the project, 86% of our college teams have submitted proposals. 44 of 63 submissions to the small grants program were funded. That's a 70% success rate, which is pretty good. A few of our cohorts submitted ATE proposals in the project category, which is more competitive than the small grants category. And if we include them, we still have an overall success rate of 63%. Note that Celeste told you that the funding rate for Cohort 4 was all of 84%. That's really nice news, and we'd like to think that maybe this is because we're getting that much better at mentoring. We hope so. You might be interested in knowing something about the level of competition for colleges that apply to Mentor-Connect. The number of applicants varies, but overall we've been able to accept 60% of the applicants. One statistic that we're very pleased to report is that among the colleges that were not accepted to participate in Mentor-Connect when they first applied, 100% of the 17 that have reapplied have been selected. And with that, I'll turn you over to Mike, who will address any questions you might have at this point.
Thank you, Osa, very much. You know, there's a question, and Dennis was kind enough to also provide his input in the chat window, but I know this will be coming up later, but Osa, in your opinion, how strong an idea or how well developed should it be at the time you apply for the Mentor-Connect program? Or you can just say, I've been thinking of something, or should you be much more formed at that point? What's your opinion there?
You should be fairly far along in your thinking so that you've got a concrete idea for a proposal excuse me, that is workable on your campus, that will meet the needs of the local industries. So you're preparing students for the workforce. That's a very important issue. And you need to come prepared with a proposal that will do that. Then we'll do a lot of fine-tuning, but you do need to come in with some concrete ideas about what you want to do, how it will fit into the overall goals of the college, and how you will meet employer needs in the area.
Well, good. Thanks, Osa. I was just wondering your opinion on that. I tend to agree with you. Let me turn back to Ellen. Ellen, there came a question. You mentioned using the NSF award search to determine if your college had a prior award. But what if the award was like in another division of your college? You know, you're working in manufacturing and somebody in biotech got it. Does that also work against you, so to speak? Ellen, how does that work?
Yes, it would, I guess, so to speak, work against you. It would be whether your institution as a whole has received prior NSF ATE funding, whether or not it is within your discipline or department area.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification, because I know several people had questions about that. Let's turn to our final question now for this question break, and there will be other question breaks coming up. Elaine, let me turn back to you. And this question came up in the chat window. It's a good one. What's your opinion, Elaine, to have a dean as PI for all the reasons that you might guess? And what about an adjunct as PI? Those are two ends of the spectrum. What's your thinking there, Elaine?
Yes, Mike, that is a good question, and we get it a lot. A dean that teaches is a good candidate for a PI. A dean at a larger institution where they're not teaching is a little more problematic. It doesn't mean that person can't be perhaps a co-principal investigator or senior personnel on the project, or perhaps one of those people who's really going to contribute to the project but without any financial support, and might be described in that facilities page that Dr. Carter was talking about. But we really need the people working on the project need time to work on the project, and this is usually provided with release time for faculty. And a person with a fully administrative job has a tough time getting release time, so to speak. And so reviewers are often concerned that somebody in a role like that is truly an administrator with a great deal of responsibility simply doesn't have time to do the work of the project, and they'd much rather see faculty involved. In terms of adjunct faculty, sometimes adjunct faculty are great people to include on a project. I would caution people about including them as the principal investigator, however, because an adjunct faculty member does not have authorities at the college that a full-time faculty member does. And so it adds an extra step to everything the person does. For instance, if they want to initiate a purchase requisition, they'll have to get somebody else to do that. There are many things that you just can't do if you're not a permanent faculty member at the college. Of course, the fact that you're adjunct means that you're not, there's no certainty that you'll be there the next year. If it's a long-standing adjunct that's been with you a long time and likely to be with you, it's a much better choice, obviously, than somebody who may be here today and gone tomorrow, so to speak. And so I would be careful about using adjuncts, but I wouldn't exclude using them, and they're probably better in a support role rather than as the PI or lead.
Those are good comments, Elaine. I think that's an advantage away of the Mentor-Connect program, because you can really get information like that. You can ask questions like that and get some realistic information. So thanks very much. Elaine, let's go ahead into the next section for our next speaker. I'm going to go ahead and advance to slide 1. And now let me just take me a moment to unmute Dennis, and then we'll invite him to begin. Okay, Dennis, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mike, and hello, everybody. Again, I extend my hopes that those of you that may have been affected by the recent weather problems are going to find a way to survive them. We're going to spend a little time talking about participation in Mentor-Connect and what that may mean. The application package is now available at the website, and make sure you put the hyphen in Mentor-Connect or it'll take you all over the place. You will submit the application electronically as well as a college affidavit. That application involves some information on the college, a one-page description of your project, and we had some conversation about how focused and realistic that may need to be. Information on the faculty participants, information on the optional grant writer or administrator participant, and an affidavit of support from your president or dean for your participation and the college's commitment to the Mentor-Connect program. I think Ellen mentioned earlier the one application per college. I think that's important because that eliminates any issues about competing with yourself in the applicant pool later. Each college is offered Mentor-Connect help. We will select 20 colleges to participate in Cohort 6 as we have each time. Your notification of your involvement will occur on November the 10th. Those that are not selected have the opportunity to receive some one-on-one consultation. You know, why didn't you accept my application? What can I do to improve it? You're certainly invited to participate in any of the technical assistance webinars. You have access to the online resources. And again, once you sort of indicate an interest in being part of the Mentor-Connect family, we will not lose track of you at all. We will keep you involved as best we can and as much as you care to be involved. The selection criteria include an application that is complete. You need to make sure that your college is small grant eligible. And let me add a little bit of a nuance to that. Many of you may be in multi-campus institutions, and for those particular circumstances, a particular campus may have gotten an NSF award, but your campus may also be eligible for an NSF award. So just because out of the 5 campuses, one campus got an award doesn't eliminate the others from participating. We talked a little bit about a good idea, but it has to have that clear technician education focus. There's a lot of needs in the educational world. We're dealing with needs related to good, solid technician education programs, particularly those that are involving advanced technologies. Another one of the selection criteria is that the faculty team needs to be STEM-oriented and highly interested. Again, faculty members are not required to have a doctoral degree. You heard the mention earlier of some cautions about deans and adjuncts. I would also add continuing education faculty to that pool too as well. I know that those folks in many ways, in many institutions, are involved closely with the credit programs, and if their involvement is proposed, then some clarity about their role and how they'll participate needs to make some sense in the application process, particularly in the proposal process. It won't disqualify anybody if they're continuing education faculty, but NSF is interested in academic STEM faculty. The demographic diversity of faculty and team members, as well as the students, is also a consideration. What we expect you to do initially is to read the acceptance or the decline letter thoroughly. Register and prepare for the winter workshop. And if declined, sign up for the consultation. Both of those happen fairly quickly, particularly the winter workshop has fairly quick turnaround time. You'll be notified sometime around November 10th, and the holidays are upon us all. So there will be some time constraints or some time demands to get some of this stuff done and move through your organization. We'll also offer you the opportunity for some consultation about your application, should you desire that. And we try to get that accomplished fairly quickly, too, as well. We do expect you to have early contact with your mentor. You will know your mentor once you're accepted into the program. And we do expect you all to connect with your mentor prior to the winter workshop. And we also want to emphasize that ask questions. If you're not sure, ask questions. If you have questions, don't sit on them, ask them. The mentor's role is to assist the team during the workshops. They will provide approximately 36 hours of customized mentoring and consulting with your team. They will provide the kind of guidance that will help strengthen your proposal topics, refine your ideas and strategies, provide links to ATE resources and some of the people involved, particularly in areas that are very similar to yours, and help in addressing the NSF and ATE requirements. Please note, it is not their job to write your proposal. That'd be your job. It is their job to help you refine and submit a very successful proposal. We also expect the mentors and the mentees to have good communication throughout the 9-month 9-month involvement in the program. It is really your job to coordinate schedules and meetings to make that happen. We know that faculty are always busy with something, but it's important in getting this proposal prepared that there are regular, frequent meetings among the mentor and the mentee team. This is a look at our recent group of mentors, and I will tell you that they're all very experienced. Most have been PIs. Most are directors of their particular center or project. They have been involved in every possible aspect of the ATE program that you can think of, including PIs, co-PIs, review panelists. They've taken leadership roles within the ATE program. They're usually leaders within their own college, and they've done a lot of conference presenting, particularly at the ATE conferences, but also at other places too as well. So a really diverse, deep experience pool of folks to help you move your proposal forward. So that brings us to a poll. We'd like Mike to connect the poll. And we'll see how many of you are interested in moving forward this year. Well, I'm glad to see that most of you are ready to move forward this year. And the maybe not sure category is always an interesting one. Anything we can do to help you make your decision, we'd be happy to do that. Some of that we know requires some internal conversation with your deans and your faculty folks. But if we can be of any value, any help in that process, we'd be happy to do that. Mike, if you'll exit the poll. For those who find it a matter of bad timing to get involved this year, we would give you some options. If this is not the best time for you to get involved, keep us in mind for the next cohort. We do things at pretty much the same times every year. You can use the time this year to address any obstacles that you think may interfere with your active participation this coming year. And if you're not sure, as I said earlier, give us a call, talk over what's going on in your organization, and we'll help you make a decision, we hope. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat window to raise those, and I'll turn it over to Elaine to outline the resources available through Mentor-Connect.
Thank you, Dennis. I do want to talk to you just a little bit about resources. We have a Mentor-Connect resource library, and you will find curated collection of items that are specific to grant writing, NSF, and the ATE program. Some content comes directly from NSF publications, but we have extracted the portions of an NSF document that you will need. There are actual ATE grant proposals that provide examples of funded projects. There are timelines and checklists to help you along the way to grant submission. And there are more than 100 frequently asked questions that have come from people like you seeking answers, help, or advice about NSF ATE grants. A special feature is a glossary of terms to help you make sense of the acronyms and NSF and government terminology. All of this is readily available and searchable at the www.mentor-connect.org mentorconnect.org. And as Dennis pointed out, you got to get the hyphen between Mentor and Connect in order to get to us. We also have a help desk, and we field questions all the time from people who are interested in engaging in the ATE program.
This conference appears to be inactive and will be ended soon. If you are the host and wish this conference to continue, please press any key on your telephone touchpad.
I'm very sorry about that, Elaine, so we're
okay. Thank you. I just wanted to mention a little bit about leadership development. The title of this project is Mentor-Connect Leadership Development and Outreach for ATE. And so with the leadership development, we think leadership development is very important, and it's important for all of us. Leaders at every level is the new business imperative in this country, and academic institutions are no exception. Our observation has been that those faculty who develop competitive grant proposals, become grantees, and implement externally funded projects at their institution develop leadership skills that they may never have had the opportunity to develop otherwise. We talk about this a lot in Mentor-Connect, and our data show that this is more likely than not to happen to Mentor-Connect mentees. In addition, we have some resources and are conducting some special activities in the project, specifically targeting STEM faculty leadership development. I want to revisit the timeline just a little bit to make sure that everybody's on target and on task and doesn't miss a deadline. Applications have been available since July the 1st. They're obviously available now. They are available on the mentor-connect.org website. The deadline for submitting your application to be part of the next Mentor-Connect cohort is October 13th. Those accepted will be notified by November the 10th. Following team selection, there are other important dates to note. Participation in 2 face-to-face workshops is a requirement for Mentor-Connect cohort participants, so it is essential that you check the dates of the project activities and make certain that you will be able to commit to participation. Participants in the next cohort will need to register for the winter workshop no later than December 15th. As previously noted, the winter workshop will be January 31st through February 2nd in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with hopes that we don't have to move it due to damage in Fort Lauderdale. We're hoping everything will be okay there. The summer workshop will be July 23rd to 26th in Miami, Florida, and those working on the high-tech conference are also in hopes that the hotel selection there will be ready to receive a conference at that point in time. Webinars are held in the spring. We usually do February, March, and early May, and should be watched live. But they may be viewed from the archived version if necessary. Obviously, participating live, as you've experienced today, gives you an opportunity to ask questions and get them answered in real time. So, Mike, I think we'll turn to you for our final question period, and then we have some contact information and our closing remarks and survey from you.
And we do have some questions, Elaine. Let me start with this one, and it may be complicated, but let's suppose you're a .org, and you have strong partnerships with both high schools and community colleges, yet you want to be the fiscal lead. Are you eligible for Mentor-Connect support?
No. This project is specifically targeting 2-year colleges. You are eligible for the ATE program. However, you are ineligible to put in a grant proposal to the program. But in terms of being part of a Mentor-Connect cohort, our cohort participants, that's reserved for 2-year colleges, with a goal, as I said very early on in this presentation, of getting this NSF ATE money out to in getting as many 2-year colleges in this country involved in working through ATE to improve technician education as we possibly can.
So that fiscal agent has to be a 2-year?
Yes. We did have one, I will say, we did have one collaborative proposal that was put in between a 2-year and a 4-year, but every other one has gone in from a 2-year.
Okay. But of course, as you mentioned, and it's a good point, there's a ton of Mentor-Connect resources that are available to everyone, not just cohort members, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
and we do encourage you to, to come into the ATE program, particularly with the type of partners that you described you have.
I'm going to address the next question to Dennis, and I have one more for you after that, Elaine, so hang on the line. Dennis, I'm going to unmute you for this question. Just a moment. Okay, Dennis, you're unmuted. Here's the question. If I'm applying for Mentor-Connect status, I could be thinking about either small, new to ATE, or a full-out project. Will that decision affect my chance of being accepted? Do you know what I mean?
Be a little bit more clear, Mike.
Okay, so I'm thinking I have an opportunity. I could either go for the small grant or a full project grant. And now I'm going to apply for Mentor-Connect support. Are you going to favor me one way or the other? Do you have a preference for small, new to ATE, or will you take me just as well if I have a good, sound project grant?
Okay, thanks, Mike. Our project is oriented toward those that are new to the ATE program. The specific focus of this particular project, and because of the success rate we've had, we think that's a good focus. It's helping to bring folks who are looking for entry into the ATE community some support to provide resources that will help them get that first award so that they can potentially qualify for later NSF awards, assuming they do a good job with the award that they get should they be successful. We have had some folks, because of various circumstances, submit a program-level proposal. And as somebody mentioned earlier, the success rate for that is significantly different. So we tend to focus and focus very exclusively on those that are new to the ATE program.
That makes sense, Dennis. So you might as well have a focus and you might as well go for it. So that's good. Dennis, you stay on the line for a moment because we're going to turn your question to Elaine. Elaine, for those affected by the recent weather problems and the upcoming Mentor-Connect deadline, any accommodations or any thoughts at this point?
That's a good question, Mike. We have not actually made any decisions about, accommodations, but we would encourage anybody that's been impacted that was planning to apply that thinks this may be problematic for them to please contact us and talk to us and see if, we'll see what we can, if anything can be worked out. We're on a very tight timeline to get things done. It's not that we wouldn't want to extend the deadline. It's just there's a lot that has to happen. But my guess is that somebody that's in one of the areas where their institution has been damaged and their people dislocated, we would certainly make some accommodation for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd like to just add one more comment to the previous question. And what Dennis said was absolutely right, and we do focus on the small grant. When you apply to Mentor-Connect, that's not a question that you are asked. The question is, are you eligible for small grants? We do not ask you what grant you're going to apply for, and we cannot dictate that. What we try to do is to position you for success. And as we said, the greatest likelihood for success is in the small grants, especially for our first project proposal. What you can get help with is if you've got this really good idea, but it's kind of bigger and it looks more like a project, is sometimes we can help you carve out that first step and do that as a small grant. You still keep the vision of what you wanted to do with the larger project, but you go for the surer bet on funding first. So as Dennis mentioned to you, we're kind of with you for the long haul, and not just for this first grant, but we're hoping to see you forward for grants after that so that you can get everything that you're envisioning and dreaming about for your technician education program accomplished.
That makes a huge amount of sense, Elaine, so thank you for that. And here's our final question. We're perfectly on time today, which is great. The final question is, do you get to choose your mentor, or are they assigned to you?
Mentors are assigned. We do check with mentors for any conflicts of interest and that sort of thing. And they're not necessarily discipline specific. Sometimes it works out to match you with somebody that with expertise in your discipline. But because they work virtually with you, we don't we're not that concerned about whether they're geographically where you are. And so we have people working with each other around the country. And it's actually really good practice. For instance, you might have noticed as we started this webinar that my co-principal investigators for the Mentor-Connect project, none of them are in Florence, South Carolina, where I am. We work with partners around the country, and and Mike, you've certainly done that through the years with your grant work with ATE. And I think that's one of those skills that you learn, and it's it really enriches you and helps you keep your periscope up and watching what's going on around the country and not just at your institution. And so you're having your mentor be someone that you don't yet know can broaden your horizons as well.
That's a good point. When you showed that picture of the mentors there, they all look so happy. They were all smiling. It was amazing.
Yeah, and it really is. They're all very passionate about doing this. They're excited about it, and they can't wait to meet their new mentees to get started work in January.
All right, I'm going to take us forward, Elaine. Thank you. Now, folks, you've probably gotten the message from this webinar that Mentor-Connect really is there. They have their help desk. They have their Connect, their email right at the top there through Facebook or Twitter, of course. And they do respond. They're very responsive to these sort of things. Many of us actually have wondered, will this webinar be recorded and will we get access to the slides? And the answer is yes to both. Typically within the 1 to 2 days of the close of the webinar, you'll receive a link to both the slides and the recording. And the handout too, but by the way, don't forget you can download the handout. You can still download the handout if you like on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, really, you've heard a lot from Mentor-Connect today. We've given a lot, but let us ask you for something in return today. I'm now going to turn the survey link in just a moment on. It's just a couple of questions, but that helps us improve this webinar series. And what you'll see is in a brand new browser window, the survey will open. You'll still be able to hear us, and you'll still be able to ask questions, but the survey will open for your window. So remember, presenters, please don't have anything to do with this survey either as we're doing this. So there it is. Now the survey is up. Friends, while you're completing the survey, let us thank our presenters today. We really appreciate Dr. Carter's presentation, of course, the leadership from Elaine, participation from Osa, Dennis, Ellen, just really a great experience today. So this officially concludes our webinar. Please take that moment to complete the survey. Elaine, thank you again to you and your colleagues.
Thank you, Mike. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.